Today, 300 of our students will be joining us on these live site visits. We always look forward to this, and they're going to learn a lot, gain a lot of experience, and I'll be sharing with you insights and detailed tips on how to become a developer. One is a commercial conversion, and at the same time, it's new build as well. And in the new build, there is a basement flat that we're also making. So it's actually 9 flats that we're creating here, 5 conversion and 4 new build. So come on in and let's go into some of the detail. You can see this is the new build element of the conversion and the new build. So there are 2 parts to this project. So where you're standing right now is like a communal area that will be the entrance for the new build flats and also the conversion flats. So we've got the commercial conversion into residential, like what I say. Also, you've got the new build, and in the new build, there is actually four flats that are going to go to the top of that building that you can see there. And this is a basement flat. So you actually, if you ever wondered how a basement is built, you're seeing it being built right now. So this is a duplex flat actually. So you got a basement, and then above the basement there'll be another story. Those 2 stories will be one very large, nice flat. It's all about coming out the ground. So to be fair, it's a really good analogy or metaphor for what you guys are doing, training in property, right? Yeah. So, you know, the hard stuff is building a foundation, you know, the initial learnings, the push through, all of that stuff. And then what happens, it becomes easier when you're out the ground. This has taken us almost a good 9 months to get to this stage with this part here. So they're getting this structure built now. Once you've got this structure built, then you can work on all the internals. Now, when you're building a row of houses, a nice little hack is you can sign them off one by one. So you could have separate completions, refinancing, get the money back out, pump into the next one, get the money back out, pump into the next one. So you can do that with a row of houses, but you can't tend to do that with a flat conversions or new builds, because you've got to finish the whole entity in itself, which is the same scenario here. In terms of funding, this was funded by one high net worth individual. So it was 100% bridging loan, yeah. And yeah, we paid him some good money for that. That was 12% per annum. That's what we paid. And once it jumped over the year, he said, well, actually, I thought you said it's going to take a year. It's taken longer. I'd like some more interest. Yeah. However, these are the kind of communications that you can have when you're dealing with other people. So then we offered him 14%. He was happy with 14%. And then for another 3 to 4 months, we paid him another 14% on that figure. However, that's the whole of the funding for the whole site. So when you are able to find these types of sites, these are the kind of things that you can do. And anyone can do this. Anyone can find these sites. You can source them. You can joint venture with people. You know, whichever way you can monetize these types of sites, you can decide to develop them. So all of this was actually agreed with 17.5K. So this is where you do creative deals, 17.5. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen for every deal, but amongst you, keep on doing this and keep on doing this, you are going to find people that are going to work with you. You imagine this gentleman here had taken this property over from his brother, who unfortunately had passed away, and really left him in a complete mess and with a massive IHT bill, which he wasn't expecting because there was no tax planning. Really sad, to be fair, really sad scenario. This gentleman, very well heeled, you know, he's not a, you know, he's a wealthy man, he's a business person, but he's not a fool. So he said, right, okay, what do you want to do? So I offered him more than he was expecting. He was expecting 300,000. We paid him 315,000. However, we agreed it with 17.5K. So we did something known as an exchange with a delayed completion. So we paid him 5% of the deposit, and then we completed later down the line. Now, if you work those figures out, you'll notice that doesn't work out to be 17.5K. You know, 5% isn't 17.5K or 300, because you've got to pay the solicitors. So you've got to keep that in mind as well. There's going to be fees that you pay. So in that initial figure, in the 17.5K, that is all included as well. Purchase price eventually is 315,000. End value conservatively is 1.5 million. And on a good day, that could be 1.75, maybe 1.8 million, depending on the surveyor, which we can discuss another time. This is, you know, basically your pension sorted, your legacy sorted from one project. This is what development does for you. How many car park spaces do you need? Well, for this site, you don't need any car parking spaces. The planners assess where your project is. And if your project is near a railway line, if it's near bus stops and so on, there are chances that you don't need any car parking. So for this site, for example, there is a car park opposite. When the planning was approved, there were permits that were offered for 3 years for the occupants of this property. And also there's a train station literally within a quarter-mile radius from here, so it's exempt from that. So with this, what we did is we had a contractor who did the underpinning for the whole site. We had a separate contractor who came along and did the framework and so on. We had a separate contractor who did the shuttering. So the shuttering, for clarity, is where the whole integrity of where you're going to pour the concrete is kept in place. Because if you don't, the whole thing just explodes. So that's a skill in itself. So we had that. Then we then instructed the concrete pumps to come along. So all of this was done piecemeal. And this is where you save your margins. To build the whole thing for the basement, you're really looking at circa 2,800 to 3,000 pounds a square meter. We've been able to do it in the region of 2,000 a square meter. You don't do this in a small town, because the mistake that developers make is they find at the end that it's just a vanity project because the end value doesn't fit the works and the amount of money that you need to spend on it. So you do the project where it makes sense. If you want to become a developer, you're wanting to get into this, then you can download a workbook which is available here right now, and you can get this for free as you're part of our community. So here we are in some of the conversions. So this building has 5 flats that are being converted. So it's a commercial conversion. It's all one title. It's all actually one building. And this building is safe and sound and it's being converted. The other part is a hole in the ground, and that is the new builds. You can see the first fixes are being done right now, all partitioned out. You can see the fire board, plasterboard, all the requirements that there are for a conversion. So a nice little tip here is if you look at the walls there, you can see this silver foil scenario, right? Now this is insulation. So insulation is required for your UV valuations. Now, if you use something like a brand like Kingspan, for example, that's fine, but that's gonna add more cost. And also it means that you lose space because the thickness of the Kingspan, for example, the insulation, you lose space all around the walls. So what we've done here is we've used something known as superfoil. So superfoil, first of all, is, I'm getting a little bit technical now for you. So it's 50% discounted compared to your usual insulation. Secondly, it's much thinner, although it gets you the same UV valuation for your EPCs. It's not always about how many units can we make out of it. It's also about what people desire. So, it's a nice space where people want to live. Because you got to remember, what we've got to remember is you're dealing with people. It's a people business. Someone's going to live here. You don't want to create rabbit hutches, I would suggest, of course, right? I don't think anybody here would want to do that. So it's something that is a nice livable space, for people in the community. That's what it is. So this is within a group structure. So there's a development company. The development company does nothing but build, yeah, and then it has to sell or transfer. So within the group structure, it will be transferred to a buy-to-let company. The buy-to-let company does nothing other than investments to hold as buy-to-let. Because it's in a group structure, then what will happen is the development company will transfer it to the buy-to-let company. And what that means is there is zero stamp duty land tax, and capital gains is also minimized quite substantially by doing this, all according to HMRC guidelines always. Keep that one in mind. So that's the advantage of group structure. So when people talk about group structures, the group structure only becomes relevant depending on the strategies that you're deploying. So if you're deploying this type of strategy and then deciding to hold it, then a group structure, speak to your tax advisors, you'll find that that's something that's a useful way of doing things. I hope you're enjoying this video. One favor I have to ask you, and this is the only favor I'll ever ask you, is if you haven't already subscribed to our channel and you're enjoying these videos, then please subscribe. It helps our community to grow, and it helps to get our message out there that, in these difficult situations out there, that you can create your financial economy through property investing and property developing. So why would you split this title? The only reason you would split this title is, number one, is to get a buy-to-let mortgage on separate rather than having a commercial mortgage, because it can be more cost effective. Second reason can be if it's adding increased value. It will probably add that in this particular project. So that's not the reason why I do it, but before I do it for the first one. And might want to sell some, that's your third reason. So whether you decide or not, it depends on what you want to do. We've got it to around 15 to 1600. because we're piecemealing it right to the nth degree. And so for that reason. So the balconies, the way the structural engineers had actually designed them, they were going to be £40,000 a piece. And there's actually 4 balconies.
A piece.
Yeah, right? Where you have lots of steel coming through here to make sure the balcony is safe and sound, of course, right?
Yeah.
And then my question to them was, why?
Yeah.
Why don't we use bolt-on galvanized balconies with a pole, which just comes on from the outside?
Yes.
Why don't we do that? And they went, yeah, you can do that if you want. Yeah? The difference there of what you can do you want is £30,000 a balcony, £120,000 saved because you knew what to do as a developer. So the learning becomes key, doesn't it, really? Yeah? And I think you get this as you're here. We went into more of a complex site, not simplistic, but we made it simple. And that is a conversion of 5 flats and 4 new builds, one of them being a duplex basement flat. So we went into that, and the end value of that is £1.5 million conservatively, could be 1.8 million, depending on the valuer on the day. And that project is making a profit of minimum £650,000. So if you haven't already subscribed, now's the time to subscribe. And I look forward to hearing your comments. Any suggestions that you've got, do feel free to write those in. Any questions you have, I personally take a look at those questions and your comments. And I'll see you on the next video.